Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dukes of Gaming podcast. It's good to have you all. It's good to be here, and it's good to talk with you all about video games. Introducing first, what's going on with the Duke of Design? How are you doing, Ben, this week?
Very good, very good. I'm happy to see we have a full house tonight, and yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We have the Duke of Rocket League. What's going on, Cole? How are you this week, bro?
Good. I just got out of the grand opening of Paw Patrol the movie, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Really, it was actually they did a good job of making it feel grand. So yeah, that was my little one-liner review of Paw Patrol. It was good. Felt grand. I liked it. My kids liked it.
Excellent. We have the Duke of Nostalgia. What's going on, Taylor? I love the colors. I love the colors in the room.
I don't know what's going on with my camera, but that's just what the color looks like right now.
It's an artistic statement.
Artistic, yeah.
All right. And last and certainly not least, we have the Duke of Education. How are you, Alfredo? How are you this week?
You know, I'm doing great. Playing a lot of Game Pass games, and I almost have overtaken the Dodgeball Academy. It's going great.
Good to hear. Well, speaking of Game Pass games, why don't you tell us what you've been playing this week?
Sure. Yeah, I've been playing a lot, honestly. The joy of Game Pass, obviously, is that you can pop in games, and if they suck, you can just not play them, which I have done to a couple of games that, unfortunately, I was looking forward to. However, one game that did not disappoint for me, well, we'll talk about it a little, is a game called 12 Minutes, which was, I believe, revealed to be in development like 6 years ago. Like, it's been in development for a real long time. And it's like this classic point and click adventure where basically the plot of this game is that you're stuck in a time loop, and the time loop is 12 minutes, and you're trying to solve this mystery of why you're stuck in this time loop in the first place, and you're limited to a single apartment for this point and click adventure. So think like those 90 point and click adventures like Pajama Sam, Freddy Fish, those type of games, but like for adults, obviously. So I've been playing a lot of that game. So just to give you guys some first impressions, so I did play all of it in one sitting. It took me about 3.5 hours to complete, but I think I got really lucky with this game because, for me at least, every single loop that I did, I always accomplished something. Like, every 12 minutes that I spent doing in the loops were never wasted. Like, I never did the same things, because the way that the game was set up for me, in my experience, was that there was always something for me new, something for me to try, and whatever I tried always, or at least gave me information so that I could get farther in the loop, basically. So even things that I was like, oh, I bet they're not going to let me do this, but I'm going to try. And it always worked out. So I had like a near perfect run, I felt, in how I accomplished the game, because I believe the game was supposed to take 6 to 8 hours is what they were like playtesting with, but I beat it in like half because I think I did a perfect run. But as far as my thoughts on the game, this game is a very polarizing game as far as reviews go. Like, either a lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. I am very glad that this is a Game Pass game, in particular, because by itself it's a $25 game. I don't know if it's worth $25, but it's certainly worth the price of Game Pass for sure. Like, this is a great Game Pass game. I really did enjoy the story of it. I didn't know exactly what to expect because I've never played. This is like an Annapurna Interactive, and I believe the person who's developing it is named Luis Antonio, which I think this is his first like standalone game by himself. I think he's worked in some other studios, but it really brought me back to those point and click games like Sam and Max, which used to be my favorite point and click game. And I found myself going back to those memories of me playing that game, and I remember how frustrated I was in those games because like sometimes the puzzles were just not intuitive. Like I would never know what to combine items with. Like it always took me like a long time to figure out things when the world wasn't helping me figure out basically. With 12 minutes, I felt like everything was super intuitive. And part of the reason is because this is limited to 3 rooms. Like 3 rooms is all you get. So like you're not exploring this whole world. There's no like moving to different locations or anything. Like everything you need is in this apartment. And everything that you can possibly try, like you're seeing it every 12 minutes, so like you're very familiar with these rooms, and every time that you try something, I felt like it was just very well designed is how I felt. As for a standard like level design. Now as for the story I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. They do have some pretty big twists, and I can't really say anything without giving spoilers. But I remember one particular part because I was just trying to figure out how this all worked in my head because it's a time loop, so it does like a lot of like make you question timing of certain things and what exactly is happening, kind of like Inception. And there was one moment where I just had to like think for like I had to put the game on pause and sit for 5 minutes. And I was like, wait a second, this means this. And then like I had like literal mind blown kind of experience, which was I did not expect from this game. But it did surprise me. Now, for better or for worse, that's left up to the person. But I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend this game as a Game Pass game. For $25, I mean, you're getting like let's say 4-ish hours or more of a movie-like experience. This is like really a movie. This is really an interactive movie, is what it is. Um, but it's something I really enjoyed. So, like comparing it to like a movie ticket, $25 for like 4-ish hours or more, pretty good deal. But overall, I think I would recommend this game, especially if you have somebody that you can talk about ding, The Last of Us, just in terms of story, but it goes in really interesting directions, and I think it's worth the play.
Well, cool. It sounds interesting. I played about give or take 12 minutes of this game, and I I got the vibe of it. I was playing on my phone though, so I was like, okay, this is something I probably want to experience like a movie, like sitting in front of my TV, and I just didn't have the access to it. So I plan on playing it this week. So I'm glad to hear a good like review of it because I've only seen the negative reviews, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen pretty good reviews, and then I've seen the pretty bad ones. But yeah, this is definitely something you want on something that you can see, because some of these items are tiny, and you really gotta you really gotta click them and look to see, because some of them are kind of hidden, but not really, not in the frustrating way.
So you played it with mouse and keyboard.
Yes, I brought out on my laptop. I brought out my mouse. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this right.
Yeah, that seems like because the point and click games that I have played were on computer. So this
Mhm.
would be the first one that I even attempt to play on console. So I'm not for sure how that's gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
gonna be
honestly don't
interesting.
know how it will translate. I mean, nothing wouldn't as far as point and click games, like nothing's gonna be the experience that you get with an actual mouse, unfortunately. But hopefully the controller doesn't hinder like how enjoyable that actual game is for you. It might a little bit, but hopefully not to the point where you're actually like frustrated about it. But let me know for sure.
Yeah, I will get back to you on that next week because I do. It's on my list of things to play. I saw it released on Game Pass and was like, that's right up my alley. So we'll see. Anything else you've been playing?
I've been playing Avengers actually, because I never finished the actual game. I waited for it to come out, with the PS5 upgrade. I think I got it as a gift like for PS4, and then like 2 months later the PS5 upgrade was coming out, so I waited, played it then, and like was on the last mission and just never finished it. But the War for Wakanda with Black Panther free DLC was coming out this week, so when that dropped on Tuesday, I decided to hop in because I was like, okay, now's the time to play it. So I dropped in, and damn, this game is hard. Like, it's a lot harder than I remember. And you got to be coordinated too. Like, you actually have to be coordinated with your teammates and stuff. What is interesting is they made, since I last played it, which was maybe like 4 or 5 months ago since I last played it, they made a lot of like actual, what's the word? Like, not gameplay, like quality of life improvements. Like, they completely revamped some of the like menus so that it actually like is a lot more seamless and makes sense. I am playing on the PS5, so it's as far as like loading times, I know it's like horrendous on PS4, so all that's fixed on PS5. But what they did not fix is basically, so they have War of Wakanda, and then they have 2 other Hawkeye kind of free LDLCs. So I wanted to kind of go in honor to make sure that happens. But they made these really interesting choices of, they introduced these new DLC characters like Black Panther or Kate Bishop in my for who I'm playing as right now for her storyline. And they let you, start as level 1 with the character, and then like their final mission, like there's power levels, kind of like in Dragon Ball Z. And then there's regular levels, and your power levels, like starting out level 1, like is 1, and it goes all the way up to like level 50, which can be like power level 160. So you're doing missions that are like power level 20 maybe, and then like their final mission, you have to be power level 160. So they expect you to literally like grind all that new character like from level 1 to level 50 and then more to just to get loot to get your power level, and that takes like hours and hours. So honestly, I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to finish it, solely because of that aspect, which they haven't seemed to, figure out yet, which is a little bit disappointing. Um, but I am enjoying what little of the DLC I have been able to play. So I don't know if they're going to be able to turn around, this whole Avengers as a live service thing. But I mean, I'm enjoying the gameplay of what I can play, but they definitely have some stuff to figure out.
Cool. I haven't touched that game in like a long time. So is it a drastically different game than what it was when it launched?
Uh I I played a little bit of when it first launched, and to be honest, not really. No, I would
That's
say it's by
disappointing.
and large the same, unfortunately.
Uh,
But it
okay.
is like, I would say it's a fun, like mindless beat 'em up kind of game. Like if you're into that sort of thing. But if like you're looking for like a Destiny like live service experience, you're not gonna get it here yet.
And that's
Maybe they
definitely
can
what they
turn it
were
around.
going for. That's definitely
Right.
what they were going for. So that's disappointing. But
Yeah, you can actually see a lot of stuff that they straight up like took from Destiny. Like they do like, okay, daily fashion or daily quests, like for your alliance, like I forget how they do it in Destiny, but like it's kind of like your clan stuff. Like they have daily assignments that you can straight up just take and earn these alliance experience, and they have different vendors, all of that. Like there's a lot of Destiny in this. They just don't execute it well, unfortunately.
You know what I
well,
think about it? It's like it feels, this is crazy to is weird to say, but Destiny is repetitive too, but Avengers feels repetitive for whatever
Yeah.
reason. Like, and it's a bad repetitive. Like Destiny's repetitive, but like it's great. I mean, the gameplay loop is awesome, but for whatever it is about Avengers, it just feels bland and a little very repetitive to me. I don't know. Maybe it's something about the gameplay that I can't describe it, but it just feels overly repetitive.
I think it's just more so what it could have been compared to what it is. Because I think
Mhm.
Destiny 1 kind of struggled with that too. Because Destiny 1 was not very well received either. And a lot of people like me were like, why couldn't this just be Halo? I think they had that kind of like residue on it. Once you get to Destiny 2, it's like they polished this so much that you really can't say that anymore. Avengers,
I feel like
compared to like what it could have been, especially when you think of some of the Marvel games that have come out, that are currently going to come out. Guardians of the Galaxy is an example. Spider-Man is an example. The Marvel Alliance games are an example. You would want this to not be a live service game, but it is, and it's an average one. You know, that I
Right.
think that to me is the issue with it.
Yeah, it has a lot of I would say like Anthem DNA. You know how that game came out and it was just, not it's not as egregious as that game when it came out for sure, but it definitely has a lot of the same issues, unfortunately.
And it was all
Controversial.
hype. We were
Yeah,
also
that's
hyped
true.
about these games. You know, Crystal Dynamics was making it, right? When it's
Yeah.
Square, yeah, it's Crystal. They were
Right.
making it, and we thought, I think we said our goals were a lot. I mean, our hopes were really high. And same thing with Destiny. I think at the beginning, it felt like this grand adventure with exploration and like going deep into these caves, and like it really didn't turn out to be that. But once we kind of got to grasp what Destiny was, and then it found it's found its foothold, I think it took off really well. But
For sure.
I think it's pretty apparent at this point that all of these live service games are always in a state of becoming. They're certainly not done in the sense of like what they will be when they release, and it takes time, it takes investment from those teams to get them to the place to where they truly shine and are special. I mean, it's all of the ones that we would think about as really shining examples of the kind of live service model, I guess Destiny and Siege and No Man's Sky I would throw in there too. None of these games launched in a way that was where you were like, okay, the whole thing's here.
Hey, and
there's
full
one
experience.
game that
it
did,
just
though.
took time.
There's one game
Which
that did
game?
though, and it's weird because it did, and then it kind of died out. Division 2. Division 2, I felt like launched. I played that day one because it's a DC game. I'm from DC. I'm like, yes, like this is perfect. I played that day one. I had no issues, but then the player base just kind of died out for it. So there's
But still,
an argument.
that was
a sequel.
That was Division 2, right? Exactly.
right.
You know, they were building off of the learnings of Division 1.
That's true.
Right, that's true too.
Very true.
To Ben's point, another one that fits in that mold is Final Fantasy 14. Although we don't really,
oh
we
yeah,
don't really group.
That's the one that made the mold, right? That was the original. You know,
that was the one that they shut it down and rebooted it completely, and now it's like arguably the best MMO out there.
That's a good comparison.
Avengers do it is the question.
I'm not betting on that one.
I mean, they could definitely do like an Avengers 2 like in a few years, but that I feel like they would definitely have to have more than just
no.
they need to. I feel like they could really succeed if they expand the characters, like how many characters there are. Because even me just playing right now, I was like, I guess it could be this person, but I'm not like excited. Like I want Spider-Man, who is supposed to become an Avengers. So
can you change your gear yet?
Like, you can change your gear, but it doesn't. So like the loot-based system, it doesn't actually affect how you look, but they do actually have like all cosmetics. So like they have a bunch of different costumes that you can earn as currency in order to, change your character skin, but the actual loot doesn't affect how you look.
Well, we'll be keeping a lookout for Avengers and when that Spider-Man DLC finally comes out. But Ben, what have you been playing this week?
I've been traveling a little bit over the weekend, so I busted out my Switch and I went into that SNES catalog and I played a true classic that I had never played before. First game in the series that I've ever played. Played Super Metroid from start to finish.
Ooh,
and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And then I got to Meridia, and then I got to Meridia, and then I really didn't enjoy it during that section. And then I got out of Meridia, and then I really enjoyed it again, and I finished the game. I'm not sure how much more can be said about Super Metroid. I mean, it's one of two games that spawned an entire genre that's one of the most enduring in games, and it's excellent. It's totally excellent. Totally still it's still great. It hasn't aged at all.
Holds up. Yeah.
True
Totally.
classic.
Totally holds
Like
up.
when you think of classic, like that's one of them. Like no
Yep.
matter how far we get into games, no matter how good games look, you can always go back to Super Metroid and just say this is a fundamentally great game.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because I started playing Super Metroid 2 about Super Metroid also about a week ago. And I only played it for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I remember putting it down and saying, I'm going to play this whole game from start to finish. I've never played a Metroid game. Is Super Metroid the one where she takes the helmet off at the end and reveals she's a woman?
I think that
Or
happened
is
in
that
the
Metroid?
I think
Pretty
that
sure
happened in
that's
the
the original.
first Metroid.
That's the
and
original one.
every time you die in Super Metroid, her armor like explodes, so you can see that she's a woman.
I don't think we can understand how big that was back in the day, from nothing but men, and then all of a sudden you get to the end of this awesome game and she takes her helmet off and it's a woman. Like that's bold.
What a twist.
That game came out in the 90s, or I guess the original Metroid
80s.
came out in the 80s. Yeah.
Oh well,
Yeah.
yeah.
late
I mean,
80s,
think about action movies, all media. There were
That
no
was
women
before
heroes.
Warcraft, right?
Oh yeah.
Gotta
It was before 3D graphics.
Yeah.
This was the NES.
That
I
has
think you had like
such
Miss
a-
Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man's probably the
Yeah.
only one
Oh,
before
dude.
her.
That's just such a cool thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's a monumental achievement from that standpoint. But even just from, it wouldn't have meant shit if it wasn't a great game. And it's a great game. It's a great series. It has a couple duds, but for the most part, Metroid is a very consistent series.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you've been playing anything else, Ben?
Nothing else to note.
That's a good game. That's a good game to just play for, the week. Let's go to Taylor. What have you been playing this week, bro?
I've been playing what I had hoped was 12 minutes, but it wasn't at all. I'm a big fan of a little British television show called Doctor Who. And the BBC, it's their main export. They make bank off Doctor Who. So you'd think they'd do something good with it. And this actually comes from a quote from Peter Capaldi, who is in Suicide Squad, who used to be the Doctor in Doctor Who. He had a scathing remark about the BBC the other day, where he said you'd think they'd be able to put some money into it, like Hollywood puts into even films that they don't expect to succeed, like Suicide Squad. They have a video game. Came out on the Switch. It's called Doctor Who: The Lonely Assassin. And it is garbage. It is fanwank. It is referencing one of the most popular episodes of Doctor Who, because the ratings aren't doing so well. So they're calling back to things that, everyone loved this episode back then. So they brought back all the actors. They all look real old and gross and horrible. It's real. It's. I don't know if there's a term for these sort of games, but you get a phone, and it's just you have to look through the phone for clues. It's like a point and click, but like a mystery game on a phone. They're a dime a dozen, and I hate them all. And I did not expect that. It sold itself kind of as like a sort of look around, point and click sort of game. No, it's you get a phone and you have to look through someone's emails to find clues. And it is so boring, and it costs $9, and it plays horribly. It's hard to click the buttons. It's just bad. It's just real bad. And I don't recommend it to anyone. I thought it was going to be, because it's Doctor Who, it's a time travel show. Oh, there's going to be some time stuff. Nope, just a phone.
Is this a case of a poor Switch port of a mobile game? Because it sounds like it's a mobile game.
It was a mobile game. But it still costs $9 on mobile, and I'm not going to buy it on mobile. And the BBC doesn't advertise their stuff, so I didn't know, and most people didn't know, that this game ever came out, because they never really mentioned it. There was no publicity for it. So the little bit of it that came out for the Switch, a Doctor Who game came out on the Switch, was like the publicity I saw. It was a phone port. It was very poorly ported. Maybe it's perfectly ported. Who knows? And it's just real shit. So I don't know. Yeah, no, it's garbage. I hate games that like on the phone, you probably had the touch screen. It would still be easier, but there's still the text is so tiny. Even on the Switch screen, it's still so tiny. So I can't even imagine it being that good on the phone. But at least you can click, sort of. Very small interface, but the Switch has a touchpad, but it's not compatible. You can't use the touchpad, and that's the way with all these ports for these mystery games. So
That's disappointing that you can't use the touchscreen. I was fully thinking you were using the touchscreen for this game. That is egregious, to be honest. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So if I truth be told have no idea what Doctor Who is about. Like, I've seen it. I know it exists. I know it has a great fan base. I will never talk bad about the fan base. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what kind of game you can craft. If you were to craft like your perfect Doctor Who game, what kind of game would it be? Just a genre, you know?
Yeah, is Doctor Who a like kind of like a Sherlock Holmes type of deal with time travel?
Sort of. I would honestly say what Alfredo described 12 Minutes to be as a perfect Doctor Who game. That sounds like a perfect Doctor Who game.
Okay.
It sounds reminiscent of one of the better episodes of Doctor Who, honestly. Trapped in a time loop. That's perfect. You really couldn't do much more. They've made platformers. There was a Doctor Who platformer on the PS3. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. The best Doctor Who game, actually, I take it back. There is one Doctor Who game out there that's actually good, and it is actually just an add-on to Lego Dimensions. And people are
Really?
blown away that this one
Actually
little
played
add-on to
that.
the Lego
I actually
Dimensions
played
thing.
that because I love Lego Dimensions. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
There's a Doctor Who segment of it, and it's made with care, passion. It's got some fan recognition. It's good gameplay. It's cute. Perfect. It's way too expensive to buy now, but that's the only good one. All the rest are horrible. They haven't made one since like the 80s on the BBC official game console. I forget what that's called, but
They had a BBC game console.
they did.
Wow, that's funny.
That's
That's hilarious. So, okay, I did not expect to go in the direction of Lego Dimensions because I also played a Lego game this week.
Huh.
I played a couple games, but I played the original Lego Star Wars for PS2
That's a
because
good
I
one.
wanted to go back. I've
That's
been
what
spending
started it
time.
all.
Yeah, man.
Right?
I was spending time over at my mom's house this week. I'm watching her dog. I brought him back to my crib today, but I've been over at my mom's crib just doing that. I found some PS2 games and I put them in my PS3 that's backwards compatible, and I played the original Lego Star Wars, and it's not the same level as the new Lego games. The new Lego games, you can clearly see they've made a lot of advancements. Those games are actually very technically well made, you know. But they started off from very good like foundation. Like they had very good foundation with that first one. I love that game. It has a lot of content, which I forgot. I put a lot of hours in that game as a kid. So because I don't have I don't have my old memory card, so I had to start all over. So I didn't have all my upgraded characters. But just playing through like maybe like 5-6 hours of it, I'm like, man, this is working. So been playing a little bit of that, and then I also played I also platinum Ratchet and Clank Rift
Oh,
Apart.
nice.
So I platinum that. I only platinum games that I like love. That's how I feel. I never want to platinum. I'm not the type of person that platinums everything. You know, I can. This is not how I like playing games. But when it comes to like certain games, I feel like I have an obligation to play you to completion. And Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was definitely one of those games. The last trophy was a bitch. I hated it. I was sitting there like I should just give up. I don't even feel like doing this, but I put the hour in, got all the kills with this goddamn void repellent weapon that you have to do in specific situations. It took a long time. You unlock it kind of late. It's the one where you use it like brings up a shield.
Oh, I like that gun.
I like the gun. The trophy is you have to upgrade the gun all the way to level 5. And then once you get to level 5, it absorbs bullets and spits it back out at enemies. You have to kill 10 enemies like that. And it's like very it's not an easy trophy to get, especially if you weren't looking out for it like when your original playthrough, and I wasn't. So getting through that was the struggle, but overall, like it made me appreciate how much I love this game, and it's my game of the year so far. I was really trying. I think we were talking about it after the podcast last week, but it's like this has kind of been a weak year for video games, and I think that this is one of the shining stars of the year, and just putting in those extra hours of platinum, it kind of just solidified that to me. So yeah, those are the two games, two kind of child-friendly games. So I looked to change that up this week with 12 minutes because I do not feel that's child-friendly at all.
Nope, not at all.
So this week will be marginally different. Oh, and one more game. I actually played. I don't know if you ever heard of Berserk, the anime/manga.
Mhm.
So it had a video game on PS2. It was also one of the video games I had at the house, and I was playing that, and I'm like, this game is horrible, but I love this game as a kid. And it made me remember, like, I put up with a lot of bad games as a kid, a lot of franchise, you know what I'm saying, like licensed games that were horrible. But because they were of the franchises that I liked, I was cool with it.
Mhm.
And I play this game now, I'm like, I don't know if I've just become a, more polished gamer where I only like, quality things, or like this was really a good game as a kid. I don't know what it was, but it made me remember like all the Yu-Gi-Oh games I played, all like the Shrek games that I played, and I'm like, man, these games, these are horrible
I have it
games.
right behind me. I
Which
was
one?
just thinking about Shrek 2, the 4-player co-op PS2 game. I think it
I
came out
had
around
that too. Yeah, I had that
but
too.
great
I
game.
love that game. I love that game as a kid, and it's like I probably would think that's a horrible game now, but
I think I don't know. I think it would still hold up because I played that game way more than I probably should have. But I always played it
I
with
want
my
you to play it.
sisters.
I want you to
How-
play it this week. Come back, report, because
yeah.
Well, I
Please,
need something that
homework.
plays a PS2 game, but I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know for sure. Gingerbread
Duke
Man
of
was my best
Education homework. Let's go.
I'll update you guys next week for sure.
Cool. And last but not least, Taylor. I'm sorry, not Taylor. Cole.
Nope.
What have you been playing this week?
It's a perfect segue. So, speaking of terrible license games, I used to be the kind of person that would be like, I'm not going to let my kids play these terrible licensed games. They have, especially with nowadays, my kid, or specifically my older one, he's about to turn 4. The other one doesn't play. He's 2, so he doesn't really play. But the older one, we have all the Mario games, all the 3D Mario games, Mario Kart, the best. Like, their accessibility to video games is unmatched to anything that we ever had. Like, we had 2 games and we all had to play through those games, and that was it. They have access to any game out there, Game Pass. It's amazing how they have content at their fingertips, a plethora of it. It's unbelievable. But so I was not gonna give them any of these little crappy games, but I had to give in, and I've been playing Paw Patrol Save Adventure Bay.
I was gonna ask if that was the game.
Save Adventure Bay. And it is just straight garbage. I mean, I cannot believe like simple things like, how do they not fix input lag? Like, how is that even a thing on these little games like this? Like,
They
you
don't
hit
need
jump,
to.
and I mean,
Is it at
like
least
that
set
seems
up
so
in this?
simple.
Is
Ben,
it
if
at
you
least set up in the style of those old like Scooby Doo games like on the PS2? Is it kind of like those games?
I never played those, so I don't know what those.
There were
what
It's
those
just
are.
like a
Scooby-Doo
basic
games?
story. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know if I
man.
have one behind me, but they were
It's basically a game where
I
it's like
wish
a
little
little
Nick knew that. Mm.
It's a level you move through and you get there, and it's like quick time events. You get to a rock and you hit A, and then Rubble comes out and brings his little thing and drills through the rock, and you go to this. And I mean, if you want to jump over something, you got to time it about 4 seconds early because
Oh, whoa.
honestly, it feels like you are playing on remote play and worse. Like, I don't know if you can give some input to that, Ben, but
That's
what's
the
wrong with the
ultimate
input?
insult.
Like,
That's the ultimate
it's
insult to a
terrible.
game. Wow.
Like, how do you not like? I just don't understand that. It's simple. Like, I
Have you
understand.
guys ever played System Shock 2? before?
No.
This is making me think of something in System Shock 2 where like you much like BioShock, you start with a wrench. It's your first your first weapon that you have, and you swing the wrench really slowly, like really slowly. So if you want to destroy a camera on the ceiling, you have to jump and swing, but you actually have to swing and jump, because if you jump first, your swing will not complete until you're already back on the ground. So it makes me think about that, where you have to time it out. Okay, I'm going to swing first, then jump. So by the time I'm up there, it'll hit and come back down. Makes me
Like
think
you're
of that.
making up for the game's inaccuracies. And I
Mm.
feel like with
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
of
Exactly.
with a lot of games, if you like the game, or when you're a kid, it's like you like the property. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're not even thinking about how better
Yeah.
this game could be. It's when I feel like when you get older, that kind of shows itself. Like
Yeah.
you love Doctor Who, Taylor, but you're not going to tolerate a shitty mobile port.
But I will
Right.
tolerate those old Harry Potter and Scooby-Doo games.
The
Yeah,
Harry
those were
Potter
good
games were
games,
good
though.
games. Chill. The Harry Potter
Harry
games were
Potter
good
games were
games. I refuse to
Good
play
game.
them to test that hypothesis out, but I want to go to the grave thinking that they were amazing.
Now, see, I will say to this discussion, I think that I think I grew up in a time where actually licensed games, what I will argue, were really good back then. So, have y'all played? Just give me a second here. Lion King the game, Aladdin the game. Do y'all
I'm about
remember
to say,
those?
yeah.
that
I
game
didn't. I
was
never
Aladdin
played
was
them.
solid
I never
game.
played them, but they always get like 9 out of 10 critical acclaim. I always see that.
And they were just
so.
like re-released. And I specifically
Aladdin.
remember one. Yeah, Hook.
Aladdin
Did y'all ever
was
see the
great.
movie Hook with Robin Williams about Peter
Yeah.
Pan who grows up?
Yeah, I hate
Hook,
that
the
movie.
SNES game. If y'all ever have a chance to play it, it's awesome. Like
Never
it was one of my
knew
favorite
that
games as a kid.
Oh, really?
But anyway, like
Cool.
the licensed games back when I was younger were, I remember them being pretty good. But I guess we all kind of remember them being good though, because it's IPs. Just like y'all said, it's IPs
No,
y'all
but
love.
the ones you were talking about though, Cole, those did get like 9 out of 10. Like it's not like they're just like people. They did review well. Like nowadays, nowadays it's a little different because I don't think you get as many licensed games compared to
How's
like
the
when
Duke,
I feel like when we were like GameCube era, like not GameCube, like GameCube, Game Boy Advance,
PS2.
a lot of Game Boy Advance games. The Game Boy Advance had a lot of shitty licensed games.
That's the thing is you're remembering those gems. Yeah,
That's
Aladdin was
right.
great.
That's right.
I actually recently played the Lion King game, and it was not great. It's
It's
not
hard.
great at all. It's hard, and
Yeah.
it sucks. There's nothing really redeemable about it other than it is Lion King. But Aladdin is still good, and I can go back and play
Aladdin's
Aladdin
good, yeah.
anytime.
The X-Men
but-
games were great on Genesis.
But you're forgetting,
The
like, there
X-Men
were
games?
Lilo and Stitch games, there were Atlantis games, there were games for every Disney movie, DreamWorks movie, Nickelodeon show under the sun, and 99% of them were super forgettable bunk.
Very true.
But
We
then you get
even
those
had a
ones-
game in the
Shrek.
SNES days called Cool Spot. It was the Sprite,
Yep.
the Sprite
I-
logo, and it
I
was
have that
good.
somewhere.
It was a good game. So these SNES licensed games, I'd argue, were better than the
You're
licensed
using
games.
this word "good" like you don't know what it means.
They were, dude. They
Throw
were.
this
They were
around.
good. That game was good. Go back
I feel
and
like
play
good is
Spot.
relative,
Cool Spot. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So, all right, I digress on that. So, anyway, I've been playing Paw Patrol, Save Adventure Bay, and it sucks. And the input lag is terrible. But my kid loves it, and that makes it fun. But soon he'll grow out of that, and he'll just play good gameplay games. But the other game, so quick Rocket League update. My partner on doubles has hit champion, and I am about 5 divisions behind him. But mind you, 5 divisions can take a year and a half.
Okay, so it is a lot.
So it sucks because I play with my cousin who's ranked lower than me, and my main partner is basically the same as me. But since I play with my cousin, it pulls me down, so I'm like in the middle of them both. So since he's got champion,
You gotta
whatever.
cut your
it's
cousin
just-
loose.
I know, man.
You gotta cut him
Yeah.
loose.
I think I'm gonna have to because I got to start making some progress. So
Oops, I can't play today.
I know, I hope
Forever.
he's not listening, but hey, I love you. But I might have to cut you loose. But anyway, Yeah, so we're right there. Like I got up to within probably 2 wins of having champion, and then I have been trying to get champion since 2015. Like this is a long journey, and I'm right there on the cusp. So I'm gonna be very hyped. I'm probably gonna come in with a crown or something, some kind of crazy when I hit this. It might be 2 years from now, but anyway. So then one other game I played, VR game. I actually play with my cousin, my other Rocket League partner. It's Blast On. Have y'all heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have not.
So
Fair
it's like you're on 2 pedestals, almost like that like American Gladiator where you hold the little, I don't know if it's a joust or what the name of it is, and you hit people with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're on pedestals. So like probably about 15 feet apart, I guess, in the virtual space, and you have these guns that are almost like Nerf guns, and you shoot at each other, and you can only stay inside your pedestal as like a boundary. If you go outside that, you'll lose health, and it's a battle. And you can like throw slow grenades. You can shoot bullets that will go slowly. So it's like a placement game too. So you'll try to throw a grenade and it's coming up and they have to dodge it. And then, but you got a shotgun blast coming at them and it's all kind of slow. So you got time to move, kind of like super hot. Then you got like a sniper bullet that will go pretty fast. So you're moving around, getting on the ground, jumping up and down. It's one of the most active VR games. Besides Thrill of the Fight's the most active one I've played. It will just wear you out. It's a boxing game. But it is incredible. Like as far as like agility and stuff and making little moves in VR. I love that kind of stuff. And I've been playing that. It's really fun. To me, it's one of the best VR games. It's probably top 5 for me. You
What's the name
should
of
check
it?
out some gameplay. It's called Blast On.
Blast
I
On.
think it's
I'll look it up.
$9.99.
Oh, I'll look it up. I'll see if I can just.
Yeah, it's cool
I'll look
because
up
you
a
just square
trailer.
off. It's a battle. It's
Cool.
a best of 3 battle against somebody, and you're just shooting at them. You can set up little barricades and shoot and stuff and throw bombs. It's pretty cool. But I played that a little bit, Rocket League, and then Paw Patrol. So those are my games.
Well, cool. Well, I will definitely check out Blast On. That sounds like a very interesting game at a good price. But let's talk about a game that we got a trailer for this week. I think it was either Thursday or Friday. We got a trailer for the new Pokemon Legends. Now, I don't know where we want to go with this, but I guess we can start with did everybody see the trailer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the frames per second still looks bad in the trailer. I don't know why they can't release
Yeah,
the trailer. Did y'all
I'm
notice
gonna
that?
I'm gonna start off with
Yep.
some heat. I'm sorry. I'm gonna start off with some heat. So I want Nintendo to just give the franchise of Pokemon to Square Enix. I don't care what studio Square Enix assigns to Pokemon. They have plenty of great studios in Square Enix. I don't know why this game looks so bad. It doesn't, like, I could excuse Let's Go Pikachu. I could even excuse what's the other one? Sword and Shield.
Sword
I
and
can even
Shield.
excuse those. I can excuse those. Those are the first kind of go rounds. I don't know why this game looks so bad. The grass literally was just like a texture on the ground that's like flat.
PlayStation 2.
GameCube.
Barely.
GameCube's probably more apt. Like, I feel like there are GameCube games that might look better than this game. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand. This is, I think, their most profitable franchise. Is it not? I think it is.
Oh, easily.
More than
I mean,
Mario?
Mario
more
is their
than
most
Mario.
important.
Really?
No question, Mario is the most important. We get that. Zelda from a, I guess like a like Zelda always feels like the one that's going to be in the Game of the Year conversations every year. Like when a Zelda comes out, like that's their prestige game. It's not going to sell as well as, a Mario game a lot of times, but it will, it's going to get Game of the Year votes. Zelda is their prestige game. Pokemon is the seller. And they just don't care as far as how this game looks, and it's super disappointing, especially when I see, like, I played Dragon Quest 11. That's one of my favorite games I've ever played on Switch. That game looks incredible. Like, I know what a RPG can look like on the Switch. Cole, you said it. Why is it running 15 frames per second in the trailer?
Seriously,
Like,
at least fake it, you know?
the first game released for the Switch was Breath of the Wild, and while it has its limitations, it looks incredible for what the hardware can do. We know what this hardware is capable of. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I had to go off. The floor is everybody else.
No, that's fair. It's Pokemon, and Pokemon is it's kind of fallen to its own success, I think, a little bit. They make most of these games just to continue the IP and make more characters that they can sell as toys and on lunchboxes. And I think a lot of care goes into the design of the characters. Each Pokemon is made with a certain level of love. And I think that's where the creativity in Pokemon stops. If you look at the history of directors who made Pokemon games, there's a point where the main director for the original games, Masuda, stops directing them. He retired or moved on or something. And everyone who came after him has really, if you watch interviews with them, they don't seem to know or care about Pokemon. They got a job directing these Pokemon games. They don't seem to have any passion. Masuda had absolute passion. He's been working on the game since Red and Blue. And he put in a lot of the hidden math that runs a lot of the underlying elements of the RPG. So he had a lot of passion and desire to make the games good, but then he left and he was replaced by guys who can direct games. And as you said, if you gave it to another studio, they always do better. Recently with Pokemon Snap, I forget who developed that, but that was a different studio, and they put so much love into the game because so many people out there, especially people who make and design games, have love for Pokemon. It's hard not to. It's touched so many people. So if you give it to someone other than Nintendo and Game Freak, who I think there's too many cooks coming in on the games because it's such a moneymaker. They can't risk screwing it up. So that's why they're making 2 games right now. And I know they've passed on the Diamond and Pearl games, the remakes, to ILCA, which is a sort of support company that famously made the Hatsune Miku Domino's Pizza app.
You just had that ready, huh?
I just had that ready. I'm a prop comic, baby. But no, the ILCA is a support developer, and they've been given free reign over this game. And I think the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, well, not the most amazing thing in the world, look like they were made with some amount of love and passion. They fixed a lot of the problems that the original games had, and just made it cute and 3D. And they didn't really do anything special. They didn't reinvent the wheel, but they put a little bit more love into it than I think Game Freak and Nintendo would have. And it's a shame. And I will say I'm happy that they're making this Pokemon Legends game, even though it looks like garbage. It looks better than their last game, which is not saying a lot.
Sword and Shield?
But I think it's Sword and Shield. Looks better than Sword and Shield. But I still think they might have bitten off more than they can chew. At very least, it's a good springboard into the future of Pokemon. Hopefully they continue making games like this. I hope it sells well, because I'd like to see a future in which Pokemon games got more action RPG-y instead of just RPG-y. It would be very nice to see this sort of Pokemon game succeed, because I'm tired of the repetitive formula. Super tired. And I'm sure everyone else is. I'm sure someone at Game Freak, someone at Nintendo must know that. They have to know that they need to start doing something good. They can't survive off of Pokemon Go forever.
See, you say that, but so I was expecting gameplay of this game, of Pokemon Legends now, and I was expecting something new. But at its core, it's still the same exact turn-based every other Pokemon that we're getting. So, like, for some reason, so what the gameplay showed was that you're in this huge open world where it's like Breath of the Wild-esque, where you can go anywhere, you see Pokemon in the wild, and there's some sort of, to me, pointless dodge mechanic where Pokemon can see you and sometimes they'll attack if they're hostile naturally, and you can dodge out of the way. But to activate battle, you have to throw out your Pokeball and unleash whatever Pokemon you have, which then transforms into the same exact turn-based 4 moves Pokemon, RPG.
But I'm fine with that's fine. That's Pokemon. Like, that's fine. I don't think that's like I don't think they should go past that, because that is Pokemon to its core.
But they did enhance that turn-based system. So speaking of the original designer, the director of the games, Masuda, he's the one who put in the IVs and EV system, which is this hidden system of how a Pokemon's power is calculated. And the professional Pokemon players get really invested on the math and how to perfect these numbers. And that was a big point of the Direct, the Pokemon Direct, was they mentioned that there's a new type of turn-based battle system where all of those hidden stat values, which are now not hidden because they realized people like them, so they made them more apparent, now have an effect on how many turns you take in a time, which is where RPGs need to be. You need to feel like you are succeeding in leveling up. You need to feel like you are getting better and stronger. And if you're just taking one turn after the other with your opponent, it doesn't feel right. But if your Pokemon's really fast and it can take 3 turns in a row, awesome.
That's a super fair point. I guess I was still expecting more than just, this Neo kind of like, system where, you have different styles that you can switch into to change a battle. But I'll take what I can get since it is new for Pokemon in general. And it seems to be, adding at least a new mechanic to switch up that formula. But at the same time, I was expecting more, but I wasn't surprised because at the end of the day, Pokemon is, I believe, the highest grossing like media franchise of all time, like even beating out like Marvel, Star Wars, like all of them. So anytime a new Pokemon game comes out, Pokemon Pearl and Diamond, which is, what is it? Shining Brilliant.
Diamond.
Yes, the remix. It's going to sell like hotcakes. It's going to sell just as much as like the originals did, even though
these are all going to
aren't
sell. Yeah, these are all going to sell. That's
Yeah.
and that's the problem. Like, that's the fundamental problem. There's no penalty. There's no penalty for them releasing
Game
anything
Freak has-
mediocre.
Yeah, Game Freak has no incentive to change up the formula.
And it really does.
Sales
It really does make me wonder, like, who really owns Nintendo? Oh, not Nintendo. Pokemon, because I
Game
feel
Freak.
like Nintendo, they work with great studios. Like, Nintendo has great studios.
Okay, so that's the theory. Recently, is Nintendo, because there's been a huge shakeup at Game Freak, with developers, with directors, and with the people who work on the games there. People think Nintendo stepped in because this new Shining Diamond Brilliant Pearl game was passed off to another studio. Pokemon Snap was passed off to another studio, and a lot of the modeling was passed off to another studio for Sword and Shield. People think Nintendo stepped in and said, "You need to step up your game." Obviously they pay attention to the online discourse, and a lot of it was for Sword and Shield. This looks like garbage. You'd expect a little bit better out of the highest grossing games franchise in the world.
And it's at the same time where they're releasing like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. It's like
Exactly.
Nintendo is literally like, you can say what you want about Nintendo, you really can't talk bad about the actual games.
No.
Except for this one franchise, which is their biggest moneymaker. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. I feel like it should have happened during the DS era, but better late than never.
Ben, this might be a better question for you, because I feel bad for leaving Cole and Ben sort of out of this conversation.
Sure.
The game doesn't look great. The models are fine, but the lighting and the immersion of it looks pretty bad. But at the end of the trailer, they played this cute little animated
was
cell
gonna bring that
shaded
up.
thing. Why couldn't they just make that the whole game?
It's I was thinking when the trailer ended, I was like, this is a good art style, and this is cute and fun, and I really like that ending part of it. I don't know, man. This it looks really bad. It looks really, really bad. Why it looks bad, I don't know exactly, but games that look like this, supposedly with all this financial backing, right, from Nintendo and Pokemon as an IP, and this is not like some other studio making this Pokemon game. This is Game Freak.
This is Game Freak, yeah.
One, they're not used to making this type of game, so you can take that into account.
Sure.
But I have to imagine there's some element of time pressure here, because there has to be a new Pokemon game every year, right?
Yeah.
But we're already getting
Yeah.
brilliant, we're getting the standard Pokemon games. So I feel
Who's making the standard Pokemon games?
Yeah.
Game Freak as well?
I believe so.
Oh no! Game
No,
Freak
it's
is
a
not
different
making
studio.
Brilliant, Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl. The other game that's coming out is being made by ILCA.
Oh, the
which is-
support company.
Yeah.
which is the support
Fucked up.
company. But they were doing the whole thing. Game Freak has nothing to do with it. This is like one of the first games they're making from the bottom to the top. So I think Nintendo said, let's actually use our resources and not put all of our eggs in Game Freak. Because I think Game Freak started slipping as soon as they stopped doing 2D pixel games.
The cracks were Sun and Moon. That's where the cracks started to show, I believe.
I
think
mean,
it started showing before then, but-
when did they stop doing 2D games?
2010.
Okay, so by now they should definitely have that 3D experience under the belt.
But they were
overdo that.
exclusively a mobile developer, if you really not mobile, portable developer, if you really think about it.
That's
Like
true.
they had never. I don't know. Were those was Coliseum and Pokemon? Was it DX? Were those Game Freak?
No, those were a completely different company that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But
Wow, so-
those were great games, and those were
They
really
were.
nice,
They were.
well-made games.
And it's crazy because I think that they probably should have been outsourcing this to a different company. I don't know why Game Freak is still involved in this. I really do think it's because Game Freak actually owns Pokemon.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I can think
the
of.
problem is, and Ben, when you were confused at like how 2010 they're still so far behind on 3D modeling, I think they've been trying to play catch up for a long time. As Thomas said about them being mobile for a while, in the last game they made in 2D, they actually brought on a British guy named James Turner to do the 3D art, and he's fine. He's very nice. I like his stuff, but he wasn't like the most impressive 3D artist. He was good at doing pixel art in 3D. He was good at making 2D art look quasi 3D. But then immediately after they brought him on, the 3DS comes out, and now you have to make a game in 3D. And Nintendo changed the entire game plan for Pokemon, and they struggled at the beginning. The first games X and Y that came out on the 3DS were not great. They didn't look good. They looked a little choppy, a little messed up, and they just kept improving their 3D modeling for a while until the Switch came out. And then Nintendo's like, put a game on the Switch, and they just didn't know what to do. So they reused all of the models that they had from the Switch games, or from the 3DS games on the Switch, and they look it. They don't look great. And I think I think Game Freak is just playing catch up with the current console generation and the current graphic requirements to make a game look good.
It's possible. I mean, there's certainly. I mean, the little cinematic at the end tells me that there's no shortage of, artistic vision for what this game was going to be. Which tells me the fact that you get this shot of the vista and there's like 12 trees. That's a hard.
Trees are the big thing.
Yeah, that's a hardware limitation, but it's is one that they, for some reason, are unable to work around given their tools and what their plan is for the game. Everyone's comparing this game to Breath of the Wild, and with some merit, because it's ostensibly by the same company, even though there's different developers, and they're this is first party IP in a similar kind of genre. Why can Legend of Zelda get such love and Pokemon can't? That's a legit question, I think.
I agree. And then to what Alfredo said, it is the most money making media property of all time. I think by a long shot. Second was Hello Kitty. I looked at
I saw that. I saw that.
A lot of cards sold.
I mean, it to me, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know any way you cut it, any way you slice it, it doesn't matter. Like Nintendo should, whether Game Freak owns more. I was trying to look up and figure out who owns what of Pokemon, and it's just, I'm going to just spend about an hour trying to figure that out because it looks like three companies own Pokemon.
I'm sure it's within Japanese paperwork.
Yeah, and Nintendo owns like a portion of like two of the three companies, but not all of them. I don't know. That's weird. But anyway, maybe someone else can.
I think
do it.
As far as going back to like why it looks the way it looks, like I'm looking up Breath of the Wild. Like one of the support studios for Breath of the Wild is Monolith. Soft. They make the Xenoblade games. Those games are known for their vistas, so
and you can tell they look a lot. It looks like
right.
Xenoblade a little bit.
Well, Xenoblade looks better.
Yeah,
of course. But here's my thing: it's like it wasn't just the Zelda team that made Breath of the Wild. They had a whole bunch of support studios to help. Because Breath of the Wild is a completely different game. Now I don't know if they worked with Zelda games in the past, but it's not just one team. Now I don't know the development of this game. But this game is lacking in terms of so much from a graphical standpoint, from the 12 trees to the 15 frames per second to the character models. Like, I'm like, there is nothing that could have been done.
Guys, I'm sorry to bring this back to I feel like I relate a lot of things to Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto and stuff, but I will say, I mean, you know what money does and talented developers does to an open world game. Why can't they spend that kind of money on Pokemon? Pokemon makes more money than GTA. I mean, it's not,
what
why
troubles me
why
is
can't
I
they
think they
spend
do
7
spend the
years
money.
and make a game?
I think they do spend the money. I just
Good
don't know
Lord,
where it
then
goes.
where's it at?
I don't.
They got
I
nice
actually
bathrooms
don't
over there.
think they spend the money. I don't think they spend the money on the actual development of the game. There have been some insider reports of students who left school and went right to Game Freak, and it was horrible. Tight hours, tight deadlines. Not a lot of like control, not a lot of macro management, and that doesn't surprise me because I think you mentioned. You just, in brief, Thomas, cards. Game Freak and the Pokemon Company have their tentacles very spread out. They have their tentacles very spread out, and based purely on the quality of the Pokemon games, based purely on how they have been made in the past couple of years. I think the money's being spent on artists, which is good. Artists deserve money too, and they do a good job. They've made great Pokemon. They've made great characters. I've always been impressed at all the artists who work on Pokemon. They're really talented. At least the 2D ones. And then the money gets spent on card art and developing new cards and with Google and Niantic because they want Pokemon Go to keep succeeding. And you look at other Game Freak properties like Pokemon Go. The models in Pokemon Go look very good for Pokemon. Like they were modeled well. People always ask why couldn't you take those and move them there. And another studio, the ILCA company that I said was working on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, worked on a storage system for all of your Pokemon on the Nintendo Switch. It's called Pokemon Home. You can upload all your Pokemon from any game to it and just keep them stored there for $5 a year. But the art, they made new models for each of the Pokemon in that game, and they look better than the Pokemon in the game made by Game Freak. I don't think any money is being spent at Game Freak. I think it's just we need to make cute Pokemon. We need to make a game that's passable and sell it. 2 of them. Sell 2 of them. And I just think it's kind of a soulless company at Game Freak right now. Really, there's no soul. There is no soul in that company. Everywhere else you touch Pokemon, there's soul in it in some capacity. But at the actual headquarters, they don't care. They just need to make sure that the games exist.
It seems they need like new leadership. And so they're a Japanese company, totally. Like,
Yep.
I feel like those like the Japanese companies are just a lot different. I don't know. I feel like they can push their employees and treat their employees like crap, whereas I feel like that really is starting to not fly over here.
Oh yeah. But
Well,
also
my
at the
thing
same
is
time,
that doesn't come across as Game Freak. Like that, because you're right, and a lot because I follow anime. Yeah, like they work their employees differently than here for sure. But a lot of times, and look, you have bad content, of course, but it's you get a lot of good content too. I can't say they're bad games, but it's like they're just producing the same game over. It's almost like a scheme. It's almost like, they know people love the new Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's like, how long can we get away with just releasing the same game over and over again till sales?
It's like
fall?
how
It's
how
almost
lo-
like
how
it's like
low-
an internal conversation with the CEO and the CFO. Like, how long can we just release the same game until people catch
and
up?
how low can our
long?
budget be to
And
how
this is
much
just-
money can we make?
this
Right.
is just speculation. But the fact that the original Heart Gold and Soul Silver of the games have gone, they've all left the company. Satoshi Tajiri, who was the creator of the whole idea, who he was on the spectrum and he loved catching frogs when he was a kid. He had a great idea for a game, made Pokemon. Ken Sugimori, the original artist, he still comes back to do some official art just to touch up other people's stuff, but he's almost completely out of it. He's doing manga, he's doing other things. And Masuda, the original programmer and developer of the games, he's out too. He's checking up on the code, but he's kind of out of the whole deal. And I remember these stories. The original Gold and Silver games were a shock to Game Freak. They didn't think they were going to make sequels. They did not think they were going to make sequels. And they made the game, and Junichi Masuda shows up one night and he's a great coder, he's a very smart man, and he just said, I'm going to stick the entire Red and Blue game in Gold and Silver. I'm going to find a way to fit it on the cartridge. And he did in a week. Last minute. He stuck Mew in the game as an Easter egg last minute in Red and Blue. There was a passion. There was a passion that's just completely gone.
Let me ask you this, Ben, since you're a big Pokemon fan, and I'm coming just completely casual, and I missed the boat on it when it first came out, which I'm kind of sad, but I'm trying to get into it and learn as much as I can. But do you think all this Pokemon success and everything that's transpired since these original games was because these first games were so dang magical that it is literally, it doesn't matter. It hasn't really mattered as long as they've just treaded water for the past 25 years. It was so special in the beginning that it's just lasted. The magic's just lasted this long. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yep. No, you're
was
right.
it so special that
it's not just the games though. It's not just the games. It's the games that led to the anime, that led to the card game, that has just kept this whole franchise afloat with for the I guess for maybe until I'd say when I started noticing a decline was 2005 or 6.
Basically the last 15 years or so.
But it was a
20
good
years.
period of them just releasing quality product. And then I feel like at some point it just stopped. I don't know if that's the same thing for you, Taylor, but for me, it just seemed like once I got to middle school, it was okay, this is just the same
there was
thing.
a point. There was a point, and you know what? I've gone back. So the point that I left the games was Black and White, Pokemon Black and White.
Okay.
Because up until that point, I'd been playing the game since they first came out. All of my
That's
friend
DS,
groups, and I think
right?
that's very. That was DS, and I think a very important part of Pokemon is how it hit the millennial generation. Because there were a lot of kids born millennials, and I think Pokemon just sort of swept over that zeitgeist of our formative years. So many people just instinctively know what a Pokemon is, in a way that I don't think any kid ever will again, because they keep messing up and making bad games. And any kid playing that game goes, well, I'm just going to go play Fortnite. This sucks. But no, I stopped playing in Pokemon Black and White, and I've changed my mind because going back to those games, I think they're actually the best Pokemon games. That was their peak, and it's just been downhill ever since. But yeah, there was a point because I was checking in. I was like, oh, new Pokemon starters. I wonder which the fire one's going to be, the water one, the blue one. I was checking in every week to see what the new Pokemon game was going to be. And then I just stopped caring. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, and that's
now
what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen to their main fan base. What they don't realize is they're living off this magic that was created so long ago, and kids nowadays don't seem to care about Pokemon. And
I don't know.
If they don't capture this younger generation, but if they don't capture this younger generation, y'all,
I don't agree with
in
that.
15 or 20 years,
A lot of kids
Pokemon's
like
gonna.
it. A lot of kids
Do they
like
really?
People like
I don't
cards. Pokemon cards save
Yeah.
Pokemon.
They are okay,
and the
I
anime
don't
too.
know.
The
I'm
anime,
not-
there's a lot of people like the anime too. Like it's still a franchise. Like the games, yes, have been disappointing, but the franchise has still been the franchise, and it's kind of.
And I forget what studio they got to do the anime. The most recent 2 animes. It's a brand new studio because the original studio, yeah. But the new studio, puts a lot of love and care into these Pokemon animes. They are surprisingly good Pokemon.
And they're popular.
They're popular, and you'd think compared to the games, oh, they're gonna be real like lazily animated, boring writing. But no, they're actually well made animes, which is mind blowing and
And
disappointing.
Pokemon's still good to release like a Pokemon Go or something of that nature. Like it always seems like they can hit the zeitgeist at the right time. But unfortunately, them doing that allows them to keep releasing these shitty games year after year.
And but you know what's kind of cool about this new game, the Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's every single one of their games combined. That's the main problem I think they had, is they just had every single idea they've ever had in one and said, we liked Breath of the Wild. The director of the game, some kid, said in an interview he loves Breath of the Wild and he's always wanted to make a Pokemon Breath of the Wild game years ago, and here he is doing it, which is hopeful, but I don't think they had enough time to do it. I wish, like, what are the games that have been pushed back recently? We've got, good games.
Horizon?
Horizon's a great example. Game that the developer said needs a little bit more time. We're going to perfect this baby. Pokemon's not going to do that.
Margins.
They are not
can't do
going
it.
to do that, which is horrible. Because even with the low frame rate of this one, it went from 5 frames per second to 15. So they've improved it some. You give them another year, I think they could make this game really good. But they're not getting.
He gets to 30. He gets to 30 in a year. Oh man, I don't like that ratio at all. We live in a world where Halo releases like a very like kind of average trailer, and that causes the game to be delayed by a whole year. You know?
Yeah.
But Pokemon, they release this, and that thing's gonna sell like 10, 20 million copies. And I'm like, man.
Well, because you go on like the Pokemon forums, you go on video game forums, and people are claiming, oh, we won. Oh, the game looks good now because it doesn't look as shit as it did 6 months ago when the first trailer dropped. And
that's Stockholm
and I will
syndrome,
say,
isn't it?
It is Stockholm syndrome. I absolutely have Pokemon Stockholm syndrome. But they know the memes, and I'm a big proponent of the fact that media makes memes now. The corporations out there know how to influence us with our internet lingo and memology, and Pokemon does too. And there's 2 very good examples of that for the new games, and one of them is Stantler, that deer Pokemon you see at the beginning, Weirdeer.
Oh, Weirdeer, yeah.
The Pokemon it evolves from became the face of the fact that Pokemon was getting lazy. When Sword and Shield came out, people found out that Stantler, the Pokemon it evolves from, wasn't in the game. And people made these posters. They were like, "Oh, save our Stantler! Stantler, come back! Stantler, 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 Stantler!" Pokemon knows this, so they said, "Here it is. Here it's back. We're good game developers. We listened to our people. Here's the Pokemon you wanted back so badly." And then in a little bit less so in Diamond and Pearl remakes, a big meme since the original games came out was the fact that the type distribution of all the Pokemon was really unbalanced in that game. It didn't make any sense. There were a million grass types here, a million water types here, but no fire types in between to balance it out. It was so poorly distributed. So they made this little thing. You go underground, you find the Pokemon that are missing from the game. They didn't really do it. They didn't change it, but they gave you the option to fix that gap in your team building. So I think they know, and that's been a big thing in the community right now, is that they fixed the type distribution. I think Nintendo knows what they're doing, but they're also really shitty. So
Well, just to end it here. Shouts out Sandler.
Good.
To end it here, yes or no, everybody. I'll go around. Are you going to get Pokemon Legends Arcadia? I think it's how you say it. I'm a no.
Arceus.
Nope.
I am a yes.
Probably.
Shame on you guys.
I have Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
I don't care about Pokemon, so nothing was gonna persuade me to get this game.
You know what's funny?
Oh,
When Cole said your name, when he was like, "I know you like Pokemon, Ben," I was like, "I think Ben likes Pokemon."
Right? No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
It was slip of the tongue.
You said my name, but I think you might have just thrown it in as
We all knew
you
you
were
were
talking about like you and I or something like that. I forgot.
I don't know, because I never thought Ben liked Pokemon. I don't know. Maybe I was saying something. Who knows?
I thought
My
I heard it.
accent's so off the deep end. Who knows what I'm saying?
Oh, it's all good. Well, speaking
Gotta catch 'em
of, gotta catch them all. Speaking of,
No, I
Gamescom,
think I meant Taylor. I'm sorry, I meant Taylor when I said that. Probably.
I was just like, I think you meant Taylor, and Taylor addressed the question, so it was all good. But I was just like, I don't think Ben likes Pokemon. I could be wrong. Though. He could be a huge Pokemon fan.
Look at his jaw. He clearly doesn't like Pokemon. He's too handsome for that.
Right, all right. So, beginning on the 25th at 6 p.m., or I'm sorry, 10:30 Pacific time, we have Gamescom 2021. Now, I don't think we have anything that is definitive, but just kind of want to talk about maybe what any games you guys might think might be there. Because I'm drawing a blank of what I think is going to be there. Anybody have any ideas?
We know kind of one thing that's going to be there, and that's their little teaser that Jeff Keighley, who's like the producer of Gamescom opening night live, where they're saying they're gonna like show like over 30 different titles, and then like they're gonna have a separate indies presentation with 40 games that they're showing. So supposedly it's gonna be a lot of games that they're showing. So I'm pretty excited. But Jeff Keighley did tweet out like a hint that basically Saints Row will be rebooted.
Ooh, nice.
Which will be really, really cool, since the last entry in that game, I can't remember when it came out, but it was Saints Row 4.
2012?
Yeah, and they did like a Gat Out of Hell DLC standalone game as well. And in that game, basically, Saints Row is this like goofy Grand Theft Auto game, but in the fourth one, they decided to add superpowers.
You were the president, right?
Yep, you were the president. You were
I played that game. Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah,
oh,
I loved that game. A lot of people didn't like the fact that they introduced superpowers because it was supposed to just be a goofy, ridiculous Grand Theft Auto, and that's it. But I loved that game, so that's the game that made me a fan of all the other ones. So I'm excited for that.
It's a goofier, better Grand Theft Auto.
Look at Cole. He disagrees, I think.
Oh no!
The humor in Grand Theft Auto is hashtag kind of cringe, but in Saints Row it's
not
pretty
on
point.
Not
Really?
in the
You
early
think
Grand
so?
Theft Auto.
That's
Not in the early
cool.
Grand Theft Auto. Like I'll raise you
Grand-
now.
Grand
Like
Theft
ever
Auto
since like
5.
4, yes. But
Yeah.
I would argue that Vice City and San Andreas, like they're pretty good.
I agree.
Like San Andreas is
Yeah.
based like a 90s black movie. You know?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of those games, do you guys think we're gonna see this rumored Grand Theft Auto trilogy remake at Gamescom? Maybe.
I
Mm-mm.
doubt
I
it.
think Rockstar usually does their own thing, so I think they'll.
Yeah, I
make
doubt it.
by themselves.
I struggle to think whether those games even exist and what we're thinking they're gonna be. You know?
Oh, I
like-
think they're just going to be it's going to be I don't think it's going to be what we hoped it to be. It's just going to be a high resolution port, pretty much.
What we want is those
Yeah.
games in the GTA 5 engine, which we're not gonna.
Yeah,
get.
that ain't gonna happen.
That's not happening.
That ain't happening.
At least I want them to, at least if they're re-releasing them, just do all new controls, because that's the thing that killed me on the PS4 versions.
See, and I don't think they're going to for those.
Really? You don't think so?
No.
I mean,
I think
what?
they
Grand
have
Theft
to if
Auto
they're gonna
released
re-release
Will,
it. I think they
No,
have
to.
they came out and they said that they're trying, and this is an excuse, but this is what they said. They said they were trying to stay true to the PS2 versions, and
Keep
I
it as
think
an
that's
option then.
that's
but-
basically saying, "Hey guys, we're being lazy, so just don't expect too much." But these games are going to be shitty. Just it's going to be probably in 1080p or 4K, and same controls, same everything.
I can play San
Don't
Andreas
expect
on
too
my
much.
phone. Come on.
That's true.
Like these games are already available on all the platforms. I don't think you can do that. You can't, like, in a world where Mass Effect Legendary Edition exists. I don't think you can do that. You know?
I hope not. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see anything special coming out of these.
Do you know what I think is going to be here for I'm almost 100% sure is going to be at Gamescom is a more definitive announcement about the next No Man's Sky update. Because they released a teaser trailer, and I think this is where they're going to release like a proper gameplay trailer.
Is this one going to be free too? Because they've been releasing free content since 2016. Like, how are they still making? I mean, this is crazy.
Well, they have
like,
microtransactions, right?
No, they don't.
Oh, really?
I really don't know how they're making money, but they
got told people at the studio they don't have to make a ton of money.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, I guess they're just still selling copies.
The game sales are spectacular for that game and continue to be. They every time they release one of those new updates, they charge
Sell
them again.
Yeah.
And they probably had a leg up just from the start because they had that, exclusivity with PlayStation for a while. That gave them money. Like,
and you say that, Ben. You say that about them keeping. And you know what? I bought the game digital when it came out. I'm probably gonna buy it physical when they update it this time. I want it.
Yeah, I'll probably buy it again for PS5 because I had the disc version of it. And,
Well, we should all play it together because I like the game a lot, and I think it'd be fun playing multiplayer. It was one of my most hyped games of all time. I'll actually never forget seeing that release trailer. It released on a Game Awards show in 2013.
Yep.
And I'll never forget it. It was awesome.
God,
it looked perfect. It really did look perfect.
It looked incredible. And
back to the Gamescom stuff. We know that the new Call of Duty is going to be there.
sure.
Any interest in that?
Nope.
I play Call of Duties for the story like 6 months after they come out because they're like $10.
Yeah,
So-
get the discount. Yep, it's a good way to do it. The one that I'm looking forward to, the game that I'm looking forward to here is Lego Star Wars.
Ooh, me too.
The Skywalker Saga,
Yeah.
which I have been anxiously awaiting since 2019, I think, when it was going to come out alongside Episode 9. And it just didn't come out, and then they delayed it again and again. And now it looks like they're finally going to be able to, have a legit date on this thing.
It's
I can't wait to play this game.
It's their second biggest game they probably ever made. Lego Dimensions was probably the biggest game that team has ever made. Just for all the licensing, all the different stages, different franchises you have to accomplish. I feel like that's the hardest game they probably ever made. This one's up there though. Like, it's going to be an experience. I can't wait. Like, I don't know. There's no release date for it yet, right?
No,
There's not even a trailer, is there?
Oh yeah, there's been a trailer. I mean, there were release dates, but
yeah, it's been. I remember it just got
we blew
taken off
past
the
them.
slot. I was looking forward to it because I'm
Yeah.
like, man, like I used to love these games. I'm a Star Wars head, and so you're telling me I can play the entire movie franchise. Now, if we got a
it's gonna
Clone
be-
Wars, I wish we had a Clone Wars
yeah.
version too. That would be amazing. But I'll take just the movies. That would be. I cannot wait.
I think
I hope you're
think
right.
they're definitely gonna. I think they will definitely include a little something. Maybe not for the Clone Wars, but definitely for the Mandalorian, just because the Mandalorian's so huge. They
That's
probably won't do a
DLC.
whole.
That's probably DLC, and I
recap
will
of the-
definitely buy
yeah,
that.
maybe.
I would definitely buy
DLC.
that for sure. And you, and there's also
so
a
I'll
Destiny
tell you-
2 stream, right? There's a Destiny 2 showcase
Yeah,
as
on
well.
Tuesday. On Tuesday.
Yeah,
yep.
that's the first.
Yep.
That's the first thing on
Oh,
this
cool.
slot.
Tune in. It's gonna be awesome.
For sure,
So
for sure.
IGN had this headline, kind of on a broader scope about Gamescom. IGN had this headline, and I read it earlier this week, and I was just thinking about this. So it says, "Is Xbox set to steal the spotlight from PlayStation again?" And this fits like this common theme that I've been talking about on this podcast about how Xbox, they're just making moves on PlayStation, I think. And just that headline right there is it's just very telling.
Well, we know for sure that Xbox is actually doing a conference at Gamescom. So I'm excited to see what they're actually going to show off, and I'm hoping at least that we'll get a better look into Hellblade 2, since it was Sacrifice 2. Don't know what it's actually called, but Hellblade 2.
I mean, I feel what you're saying, Cole, because I think it's been like it's been a year and some change since the last like official like huge PlayStation press conference. Like I remember they had the one right before the PS5 drop that showed everything. That was when they were doing the price, when they revealed the price and all that. So that's the last one. They have a lot of games coming out though going forward. That's the thing. Like I don't know exactly the number, but as far as like compared to Xbox, like it's comparable. You got, Horizon, God of War, Final Fantasy 16. You have like they have a good amount of games coming out as well. I think Xbox is just doing a better job showcasing that they have games coming up.
Is it weird that Sony's little PR releases are less impactful than Nintendo's?
It's weird, but at the same time, they're selling like
yeah.
hotcakes, so they don't care.
That's true. That's fair.
They're like, why spend the PR? Why spend the money to make this presentation when people are gonna buy this console regardless? And
Right.
everybody knows we have games coming out.
I'm more likely to buy an Xbox One than a PS5. I don't have either, but I'm way more likely to buy an Xbox One, and I've never liked Xbox.
Xbox One or Series X?
Or Series X, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I've never been an Xbox fan. I owned a 360, but that's only because my brother owned it and we shared a room. I've never been an Xbox person, but all of a sudden, Sony does not impress me, and I've got to throw my hat into the Xbox ring. And Nintendo doesn't count, but like Sony's been my go-to.
And Thomas, I'm with you. Like, so that's kind of what both of you are saying. So Thomas, I'm with you as far as like, I think that Sony has the better games. I think that they have the better lineup. But there's something to be said about showing up, being at conferences, having a presence, and kind of what Taylor's saying. He's kind of outside the box, but he's kind of leaning towards Xbox now. And it's like I say all the time. I think Sony is getting into this conceited, like big-headed mentality that like they're big shit, and nobody can mess with them. And the last time they did that was PlayStation 2 coming to PlayStation 3, and Xbox pretty much won that. Didn't officially win the generation, but for the most part won the generation.
The thing, I agree with you because look, if you ask me, do I prefer them having conferences? Yeah, of course. I want as much information. I want as many game trailers as possible. I will say though, the errors in the PS3 were a little different. It wasn't their press conferences. It wasn't their marketing. Their marketing, they did a lot of it. It was just very weird. Like they had very weird commercials for the PS3. They marketed that very weird.
Baby that was crawling.
Yeah, that's the exact one I was thinking of. That's the exact one. They had a lot of weird stuff going on. I don't think it was the lack of information. It was just, if in honesty, it was too much transparency. Because I remember they released like the whole pricing structure of how much the PS3 was going to cost. Like they were really specific about everything else coming out, and it failed. Not failed, but it failed in regards to like what they thought it was going to be.
And part of it was I feel like they were so overconfident that they thought people would just pay that price. They thought people would pay that $600 for the PlayStation, or whether I think it was 500 and 600 with the models.
The thing is, I
And
think now though they're right. Like people will pay. People will pay for the PS5 regardless, because they know that the people who want the PS5 want to be in that ecosystem. Whether their friends have PS5, that's where their friends play Call of Duty, or whether they're interested in the Spider-Mans, the Ghost of Tsushimas. So it's like they know that's not going to change. So their thought process is, why do this press conference? We have nothing to prove. Microsoft has everything to prove because they've been releasing average to mediocre games for the past 5 years. From an exclusive standpoint.
And just to me, I just feel like, and I agree with you, but I think that why let off the gas? Just keep.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Like, why do it?
To the metal.
Yeah, why do it? Because it's not like it's costing you that much to do this. I don't understand
why
they're not
that attitude. If they have the attitude that you just were kind of saying, why should we do the press conference? We're number one. We're this. We're that. Eventually, that attitude will catch up to them, whether it's now or 10 years from now or 5 years from now, whatever. But I feel like that attitude will get them, and because Microsoft is hungry right now, and PlayStation is kind of seemingly not. But I don't know. We'll see.
They're hungry with an unlimited budget. That is dangerous.
Right.
That is a very dangerous enemy.
When they buy Take-Two, it's over.
That would be horrible, because then 2K would be exclusive. Like NBA 2K, I would hate that. But
Rockstar Games.
Speaking of Sony not being at Gamescom, unfortunately, I was hoping we would actually see a little bit more of our favorite, Cars 3 developer, Hogwarts Legacy. But since Sony won't be there, I believe Sony owns the marketing in regards to Hogwarts Legacy. Like they have some sort of deal. Yeah, they have some sort of deal with Avalanche in regards to the
J.K.
marketing.
Rowling a train or something, yeah.
So yeah, because of that, I don't think we'll see any of that, unfortunately. But we might see. I think it's a little bit too early, probably, to see another sneak peek of like Suicide Squad, the game. But maybe we'll see, Gotham Knights.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, a little bit more of that game would be nice. But to be honest, I mean, it would be nice if we had, things, some more surprise releases, a la Guardians of the Galaxy coming in 2 months. It'd be nice if we got some of that at Gamescom. Because as of now, I feel like everything that we're gonna see is like stuff coming in 2022. But it is coming toward the end of the year, so that's probably as expected. The only other game I probably would want to see a little bit more is Dying Light 2. But yeah, as far as Xbox goes, I have no idea what they're gonna show besides Hellblade.
They're gonna show Halo. I feel like we are gonna get a date for Halo. That's the one thing I think we definitely are gonna get now. Because I think that Halo was waiting for Call of Duty to drop their date. I think that's the reason why we didn't get a date. That's their main competitor. I don't think they're worried about Battlefield. I think they're solely focused on, we do not want to launch within 2 weeks of this Call of Duty game. We just don't want to do that. So now that we know, I think it's coming on the 9th. I think Call of Duty is coming on the 9th of November. I think they're going to announce, just a prediction for me, a Christmas holiday release. I think we're getting it on Christmas, y'all. The marketing speaks for itself.
On Christmas? The day?
Whatever Thursday or whatever day games release around Christmas, whatever that day is, they're releasing it then. I think they're going to give a month buffer away from Call of Duty. Just to make sure, people are streaming the game. It's the main focus. And I think a month's a long enough time. I just think that it's time. Yeah. I don't think you can go into September with this thing not having a date.
I don't know. Some part of me is still a little bit hesitant that they might only do the multiplayer release, and
Well,
then might hold
we
off
already
on the
got the bad
campaign if
news.
they're not
We
ready.
got the bad news already, though. We got no co-op or Forge at launch.
Okay. I
So I
still
think
think
we
they
already got
might
the bad
also
news.
hold off on the campaign.
That would be.
But we'll
That's
see.
a hard sell. Ooh, that's a hard sell.
I mean, well,
Ooh.
we already know that the multiplayer will be free, so it's not like you're losing anything,
That's true, but I feel like they need to launch the single player and the multiplayer at the same time. I just think that you can do it the way you're saying. I just don't think that's a good way to do this, especially when you're already on an uphill battle against Call of Duty. You're already on this track of you have to compete against this monolith franchise. I don't think that if you're gonna do that, you might as well delay it till next year. I don't think it makes sense for them to do that.
I mean, I'm hoping you're right, but I just have this feeling in the back of my head. I'm like, I feel like they will definitely use the Sony approach of, if we're not ready, we're just gonna delay it. But at least Xbox will be transparent with everyone and will tell everyone, hey, this will come later, as opposed to just keeping us in the dark.
I mean, that kind of messes up their holiday release schedule because that means the only thing we're getting from them is Forza, and that just appeals to a very narrow fan base. Forzas are popular, of course, but they're not. I wouldn't call them they're AAA games, of course, but they're not. I don't think that's a system seller. You know what I'm saying? I think Halo Infinite is for sure a system seller.
How far south have you lived?
Who, me? Virginia.
Yeah. Okay.
I lived in Hampton.
The further south I go, the more I think Forza can be a console seller. If I'm honest.
Something about the South and driving?
It's something about the South and driving. I know a lot of
Alright.
people who have race cars and go mudding on the weekends.
NASCAR,
They
yeah.
love. Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it's not like Xbox needs, like Sony, they don't really need a system seller right now because you still can't really get, an Xbox Series X if you wanted to, like with the current games that are out. So it's not like they need that.
That's true, but it's they're doing all these press conferences, and the only thing you have for the end of the year is Forza. When PlayStation's not doing any press conferences, and we're at least getting Deathloop, you know? You know what I'm saying? It's that's where I'm they're doing these press conferences, and yeah, they're being received well, but where are the games?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they can afford to, because really, what's the big exclusive for Xbox Series X right now? Now, look, I love my Series X, but I can't think of the exclusive next gen experience that's on here right now. I'm playing upgraded versions of older games right now. At least with the PlayStation 5, yeah, you have Returnal, you have, Ratchet and Clank, you have the Demon Souls remake, Spider-Man Miles Morales doesn't really count, but it still looks impressive, it's still, I think it's a quality PlayStation 5 experience. It's you have these games that are showing off next gen. I think the Xbox is more so, they're kind of just upgrading their older games. And using backwards compatibility and everything. And it's it sounds great marketing wise, but really what games are being released that are showcasing this next gen system?
Fair question. I don't think they have an answer to that.
That's my point. That's why I'm saying I think Halo it's fitting for Halo to be that first game.
Makes sense.
If it's not ready, delay it. Because I just don't think you can just release that half-assed like that. Whether it's the single player or the multiplayer first, I don't think you can just release that half-assed. That has to be that's Master Chief's on the back of the box. You can't release that game half-assed. We've seen what happened with Halo Master Chief Collection. We've seen what happened with Halo 5. You cannot afford 3 times in a row launch this thing shittily. Is that a word?
Yeah, that
sounds right. Yeah,
you can't have 3 from the same developer. You can't launch 3 straight Halo games in less than tip-top condition. You can't do that. I feel like this is the one it has to hit, and I feel like a Christmas date is perfect. If it can't hit Christmas, delay it all together. It needs to be perfect. It needs to get 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s out the jump. And I feel like at this conference, I feel like releasing the date, I feel like it's just right. It just feels right now because I don't think you can go into September not knowing.
Can I suggest a topic for next week? And this is going to be some homework. Alfred, you've got two homework assignments, but everyone else has one.
Write them down. I'm ready.
This is going to be bizarre, but I think we might get some views with this. The Taliban and gaming, because we've all been talking about how gaming's been kind of stagnating, specifically with the PS5 not being available. Publishers are less likely to innovate recently, but the Taliban now being in control of Afghanistan might lead to some of those rare earth minerals that we've been waiting for so long to start coming back in stock. It depends on who they sell them to, if they do. I think it could be an interesting topic at very least.
Write it down, everyone.
Because Afghanistan is sitting on top of like most of the rare earth minerals we need for electronics and computer equipment right now.
It's amazing. It's not at all where I thought you were going with that.
Me either.
At all.
I thought you were going to be like, it's like just such interesting geopolitical content for people to write about, and there's going to be so many games about this. Like,
no.
Minerals.
Economically, they have all the rare earth minerals we need to make computer chips.
Got you. We got you.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
The next Pokemon
they partner
game
with
is
China?
co-funded by the Taliban. Oh, man.
It's a serious discussion.
We have homework, y'all. Anything else from Gamescom that anybody's expecting?
Oh, I do quickly want to say, so we have confirmed participation for Gamescom for Xbox, Sega, EA, Nintendo, and Ubisoft. Supposedly, they're all confirmed for being there. So
I want to. I
wasn't sure that Nintendo was going to be there. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. He said Sega. I was like, that's the one franchise where I'm like, yes, that's. But...
Well, probably with Sega, we're going to get like Lost Judgment, a little bit of that action, maybe.
That's true.
EA, I don't really. What are we gonna get from EA?
EA always has something. Battlefield, yeah.
FIFA.
Dragon Age teaser again.
It'd be nice if we can get some actual Dragon Age gameplay, but Nintendo, I am excited to see what they have up their sleeve.
It's gonna be Sonic and Mario at the Olympics.
Hey, Metroid Dread. They'll show some Metroid Dread.
Oh yeah.
Put some respect on their name.
All right, fair enough.
All right. And last and certainly not least, we have the podcast within a podcast. You know I'm talking about Reminisce. Ben, take it away.
I was going to talk about a different game. I had one in mind. But then Alfredo threw me back in a time vortex of nostalgia when he mentioned Pajama Sam. Earlier in the podcast. I don't know if any of you guys played Pajama Sam.
I'm unfamiliar.
I had Pajama Sam, yeah.
Yeah, point and click adventure game. But the reason I was thrown back to a time vortex of nostalgia is just because I have just a weird relationship with Pajama Sam. I got this game in like a Quiznos like Happy Meal. And I don't remember if it was a demo disc. It must have been a demo disc. The game's not very long. I looked it up on YouTube, and it's like an hour and a half. You can beat it in like an hour and a half if you know all the puzzles. And so I must have gotten pretty far through it, but I think it was a demo disc. I think at some point it was like, okay, it's done. Now play the real thing. But what's really weird is that this game came out in 1996 when the year I was born. So they were doing promotions with Quiznos like 5 to 7 years later when I finally played the game. Possibly I'm remembering, or I'm misremembering something there, but yeah. Anyway, I don't remember that much about the game other than I played it a lot, because it was very short. What was available was very short, but it was fun. It was cute. But really, I just remember the fact that I got it from Quiznos. That was something.
Well, there's precedent for that. There's definitely precedent. I remember McDonald's. I don't remember. It was when I was a kid. They used to give out VHSs of like the Ronald McDonald like TV show. I don't know if anybody remembers this. This is like a fever dream, but I remember I had the VHS, and it was like the Hamburglar and Gromis, and I was all these characters. They had like a little TV show. It was horrible, but it was
in the mid 2000s. Remember Burger King had the Xbox Burger King games?
Yeah, they did. I forgot.
And they were like weirdly good too. I remember like people were loving them.
It wasn't even that long because they had them on 360. I remember they were like, I remember I got one and I was like, I don't have a 360, so this just sucks. But I remember they used to come. They were coming out like pretty. It
was like 2007, 2008, 2006.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Really,
that's great. So there's definitely a precedent for that. So I definitely believe that Pajama Sam and a Quiznos.
Yeah, I
maybe
feel
7 years too late.
I feel like I definitely have a very similar experience to Ben, where I don't know where I got the demo disc, but I got one for Putt Putt. Did anyone play that game?
Totally.
Yeah, for Putt Putt, which is like this car convertible, I think he was, with like huge eyes, which is basically the same exact thing as Pajama Sam, a point and click adventure.
I think it was the same developer.
Yeah, I think
the same developer.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was that game, and I got Spy Fox. Is like that fox in the tuxedo, in the white tuxedo. They had demo discs for all of those, and those games were quality. Now, are they quality today? I don't know, but you can get them on Steam for $2. So maybe that'll be my homework number 3.
Got a lot of homework.
Cole and Ben, imagine in 7 years your kids getting Ratchet and Clank ripped apart in a Happy Meal. Let's just imagine that idea.
From Subway.
Right. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. But this has been the Dukes of Gaming podcast. I'd like to thank anybody listening. I'd like to thank anybody watching. I'd like to thank anybody who leaves a like, who leaves a comment. We appreciate any support that we get. You can find us on all podcasting services. That includes Apple Podcasts. That includes Spotify. I think we're on Tidal. But watch us there or listen to us there. Watch us on YouTube. Leave a like, leave a comment. Hit the bell as well for notifications. And on behalf of me and the Dukes, I bid thee farewell.